Dear Living Symbol, last week there was an important ceremony at my university, Lorenzo de Medici, that is associated with Mary's College of New York. And there was a certificate ceremony, so I gave a speech, okay? And I took inspiration from the man that gave its name to the school, Lorenzo de Medici, also known as Lorenzo Il Magnifico. So, to fix a couple of concepts, I told the story of two episodes in his life. First of all, one concept that for me is very important to determine the relationship between a teacher and a student is that the student, more than receiving the knowledge from the teacher, he should be recognized in its own talent. Because each student have a sparkle that she came here to deliver to the planet. And this sparkle is like a seed that needs to be recognized, first of all, needs to be seen, needs to be acknowledged, needs to be celebrated, and then needs to be nourished, needs to be put in the right soil with the right amount of water. So it's a delicate operation, like putting a seed in the ground. If you just put it in the wrong soil, nothing comes out, the seed dies. So this would be symbolically, this would mean to waste the talent that a person came to the planet. If there is not somebody that recognizes the talent, there is a big waste of energy, big waste of knowledge that the rest of humanity is missing. This was the job that Socrates used to do with his pupils, no? So to fix this concept, I told the story of when Lorenzo recognized the talent of a young man that was learning in the Giardino di San Marco, where the family, the Medici, could afford to buy very expensive sculptures of ancient Greek, ancient Rome, and asking the young talents of Florence to replicate the sculptures, because the objective was to repeat the levels that was achieved in the great classic times, no? And according to some critics, they managed to do it, both from a philosophical but also from an artistic point of view, as everybody knows. So, this young man was Michelangelo, that he was welcomed at the Medici court, but that meant to leave his family. That meant to be adopted, basically, okay? And so this is associated also to a difficult moment, because another young man was very jealous of this event, coming from a rich family, where Michelangelo was from a poor family. And this rich boy punched Michelangelo in his nose. That's why Michelangelo has a broken nose. That's why in all the portraits he has this nose that is a little punched, no? It's because the bone got broken in that episode. So then when you look at the first masterpieces that Michelangelo did in his early 20s, you wonder what would have happened to his talent without this moment of recognition by the great Lorenzo Il Magnifico. Because then he went to palace, he was sleeping in the palace, he was eating with the greatest philosophers, artists, poets of the time, and then he was even welcomed in the prestigious Neoplatonic Academy. No? So why Florence was so rich of great people in that moment? Because the grandfather of Lorenzo, Cosimo il Vecchio, the elder Cosimo, he was collecting books, but they were not books at the time, they were manuscripts, because print was not invented yet for a few decades, no? And so not only he would pay people to go to the Middle East and to Europe to buy very expensive manuscripts, but also he would pay people to translate them. he would pay also to build the first open library of Europe. There was another one, of course, in Alexandria of Egypt, but not in Europe before, that then got destroyed. So, for the great mind of that period, Florence was the place to be, because there were all the books available, you know, from Hermes Trismegistus, from Plato. It was an event, no? Okay, so this was the first story. But then, I said already this story a couple of years ago in a similar ceremony. So then, last week I said, I don't want to repeat myself, no? I want to add another piece. So, a student is not enough to be recognized in his talent. A student should also know how to face difficult times, because when the seed want to grow, will face difficulties. This is life. This is the nature of life. Forget about those nonsense of the law of attraction. That is partially true, can happen, but the view of a life where everything is easy, it's simply unrealistic. We should rather learn how to face difficulties, because the universe, or whoever believe that give us difficulties, are given exactly to awaken our superpowers. Okay, so difficulties are planned. The tough time are planned. So I was telling the students that we should learn to come out with our courage and to be a little foolish also sometimes. Because yes, sometimes we need to be foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish, remember? It didn't get famous for nothing. It's really a point of wisdom, no? So to fix this concept, I told another story. I told about the worst moment in the life of Lorenzo in Magnifico, and unfortunately also of his brother Giuliano. You have to imagine probably the holiest moment in the city of Florence. Easter celebration. It was 1:00 p.m. The moment in which the priest is lifting a piece of bread consecrated as the body of Christ. In that very moment, two killers stabbed to death Giuliano, tried to kill also Lorenzo. He got wounded at his shoulder, but he managed to escape in the sacristy. The revenge was quick and brutal. The Pazzi family who organized the assassination got executed, also because the city supported Lorenzo, supported the Medici family for various reasons. But that was not the end of the story, because the Pazzi were supported by two formidable allies, the Pope Sisto IV and the King of Naples, Ferrante d'Aragona. So Florence was under attack. All the small cities allied with Florence, they would get conquered. So Lorenzo was risking not only to lose his power, but also to lose his life, like Giuliano. So at that point, in order to come out with all his fantastic courage, he did something completely crazy that was paired by some historians to the jump of an acrobat into the void without a safety net. So you have to imagine that Ferrante d'Aragona was a very cruel man who used to invite his enemies at lunch and then poison them to death. So Lorenzo, in this situation, does something completely out of reason, completely crazy. He sailed to Naples and he knocked completely on his own. He knocked at the door of Ferrante, facing him. I mean, imagine now in a conflict, one guy from Ukraine knocking at the door of a guy in Russia. Okay, it was that crazy, saying, let's talk about it. What is the problem? Let's talk about it. And he was armed with no weapons, only with philosophy and with dialogue. And he must have been a good storyteller, because not only he was not poisoned, but Ferrante welcomed him for 3 months almost. And then finally peace was agreed. And as Machiavelli said, if Lorenzo went to Naples big, he came back huge. Just to give an idea of the moment, Imagine the party when he came back to Florence, and then the fame that he gained in all of Europe. So those two stories, I told them to my students in order to fix these concepts. The importance of recognizing a talent, the importance of understanding what is our talent. And this is a job that lasts all life, isn't it? Not only when you're a student, because we have many talents now. Recognition of the talent and nourishing the talent with the flame of courage, because without this flame, the talent cannot go out of its protection. And the other concept is also to face difficulties, not plan a perfect life. That's hedonistic. No, we should accept difficulties as a challenge, as a challenging moment in which the courage can come out of our heart. Ciao, living symbol.